This video is a summary for learning outcome 3, and that is to understand product development. So we need to know what kind of things you need to consider when creating your own product. So all products follow the product life cycle, and the average product usually goes through all 5 stages in its life. Some products manage to stay in one particular stage for a very, very long time. And these are the most successful products and the most successful businesses. So the 5 stages that you need to be aware of is product development. Now, when product development is taking place, that means nothing's actually been sold at this time. Then we've got introduction, so it's when you first start to sell a product. And then we've got where it started to grow, so the product is becoming more popular and more well known. Then maturity is when it's at its absolute best, and then the decline is when you start to see sales fall and get lower. So it's not rocket science here. You can use a little bit of common sense to kind of figure out what's going on. In the development stage, that means that you're spending money to try and develop a product that you haven't actually sold yet. So your profits are going to be really low, but basically non-existent. You're going to be making losses at the beginning. Then when you first start to launch the product, so you introduce it to the new market, usually you're going to have quite low sales until people start to find an awareness of your product. So you're probably still going to be making losses or very, very low profits. Growth is the sort of middle stage. And this is when your product is starting to get a lot more popular and you're starting to see a lot of sales and you are starting to make decent amount of profits. Maturity is when your sales reach their highest point, and as more competition starts to arise and people start to sort of copy your idea and so on, you might start to see a very slight fall in sales. And decline is when it becomes very, very clear that you are starting to sell a lot less products and your profits are getting lower. And there are ways of keeping your product in the maturity stage, which we'll look at in a little while. But this is just what you need to be aware of with regards to the product life cycle, what happens at each stage. So when your product gets into the maturity stage and you're making really quite a lot of sales and you're getting quite high profits, you want to try and keep it in that point as long as possible. You do not want your product to start to decline, and you don't want sales to fall, and you don't want to lose any money. So there's certain things that we can do to keep it in this extension stage. So let's look at some of the extension strategies. These are ways to keep your product in that maturity stage so that you do not start to lose money. So the 5 different ways that you need to know are advertising. Pretty obvious really. If your product sales are quite low, then you need to start advertising, make people more aware of your product. You could look into new markets. So this could mean literally selling it in a different place. So not just in the UK, but moving into Europe or America, or to new people. So you might start targeting other genders, or age groups, or anything really different. Any sort of part of Gaelgo, you could start to target them. You've got your change of product price, so this could be making it cheaper. It could be making it more expensive, but it's unlikely. Adding value means to add features or improve the product to make it better in some way. And new packaging. Now this is basically just making the product look different so that people might be more likely to see it. So when we talk about adding value, this is something that the best businesses do all of the time. For example, Apple will bring out a new model of iPhone, new model of iPhone, new model of iPhone. So that is adding features or improving it, which keeps the iPhone in the maturity stage as the market leader. Product differentiation is a way of making your product stand out from those offered by competitors. So there's different ways which you could make your product different. Number 1 is if you establish a strong brand image. Number 2, design mix model. This is where you use a particular model to try and make yours different. 3, identify a clear, unique selling point. And 4, offer an improved offering. So this could be adding more features or something different to your competitors. So this section is a little bit confusing, so we're going a little bit more in depth in this one. But basically, you want to make your product different from everybody else. And one way to do this is to make sure that your business has got a distinctive and recognizable design. So that means that your brand needs to consist of a company name, a logo or a symbol, a strap line, a color scheme, possibly a mascot or some sort of celebrity endorsement, and a distinct feature. And if you look at a lot of the most successful famous businesses, they have all done this. The design mix model is a useful tool that you can use, which will allow you to differentiate your product. So it's got 3 factors. It's often referred to as the design mix, and it's basically 3 separate things. So we've got function, aesthetics, and cost. So you ask yourself some questions to make it different to other products. So you start with function. Is the product fit for purpose? Does it work? How can our product be different in terms of function compared to others? Aesthetics is how does it look? So when we think about that, we're talking about how does it look, feel, smell, and taste, and how can we approach that to make it different to our competitors? And finally, cost. Cost means how cost effective it will be to manufacture, and is there any way we can do this differently to our competitors? That could include things like making the product out of sustainable materials. It might cost more, but it would be different to the competitors. Arguably, the most important is to kind of come up with your unique selling point, and that is essentially, if you're making products that are similar to other people, it's actually quite difficult to come up with your own product from scratch that no one else has done before. So a lot of people, when they're developing products, they're developing things that already exist, like they're making their own clothing brand. Now obviously clothes already exist. They're making their own coffee, they're making their own sweets. A lot of these things are already out there on the market, so you have to come up with a feature that makes you stand out, what is different. So for example, you've got Apple. Apple's unique selling point is that their interface is easy to use, it's intuitive. So every Apple device that you get has the same interface and it's easy to use. Here we've got the world's strongest coffee. So in order to claim that, it has to have some sort of truth to it. It means that they have verified that this is the strongest coffee, and that's their unique selling point. So that is how you can make your product different. Could be that it's the best quality, lowest price, a new feature, or something especially unique. When we talk about improving the offering, this is something that's difficult to do. You are comparing your product to competitors and trying to make yours better than theirs. So to make yours different to them, you have to try and improve it somehow. So that could be improving the features by making sure it can do something that no one else does. It could be making it easier for people to buy or selling it in a location that no one else is. It could be making it look better. It could be adding functions. It could be changing the design. Or it could be changing the selling price so that you compete completely different to others. In other words, this is the cheapest product that you can buy. Finally, when you are creating a product, you need to think about things that could affect your business, and not everything is in your own hands. Sometimes you might do absolutely everything right and some things happen in the world that massively affect you. For example, during COVID times, many businesses just completely fell apart because they didn't know how to handle it. In this particular case, we need to know 3 external factors. They are technological developments, economic issues, and legal issues. Technological developments means it's when something changes in materials. For example, a new plastic becomes available, a new metal, a new any sort of change, or it could be that there's a massive shortage. So at the moment, I know there's a shortage in CPUs available, and a lot of car industries are finding that difficult. We've also got new machinery might become available, so you need to change your business in some way. And things like new technology, so artificial intelligence is starting to have a big impact. Things like new payment methods where people can pay for things on the phone. You need to make sure that you keep up with how things are changing in the world. Economic issues is essentially related to money. It's how wealthy is the country that you are selling in, and how well are kind of people doing at the time. So obviously UK at the moment is not doing very well. The economy is not in a good place, and people are really struggling financially. So that is not really anything to do with you. It just means that it's going to affect you. People might not be able to afford to buy your products because they don't have any money. And finally, legal issues. There are often changes in the law. For example, if you were a car company, all new cars need to be electric or hybrid by 2025. Now that is a huge impact on your business, and there's nothing at all you can do about it because that's the law. So these three factors can massively affect your business, and we need to know what they are. So technological, economic, and legal.